Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I guess a lot of folks, if you're like me and you live in the country, you pay extra careful attention to the weather, especially in the winter months. And I always, in addition to getting local weather information, I try and look at the long range forecasts that are typically 7 to 15 days out. And right now the weather models are showing that our area could get a whopper of a winter storm coming up this weekend. Could be as much as 12 to 16 inches of snow, which is a lot for this particular area here in southeast Virginia. Now, about half of the time, these models don't pan out, and the storm might go too far south, or it might be too warm, or something will happen and we won't get the snow. But the other half of the time, this stuff does come true, and we're in an area where they just don't have a lot of equipment to clear the roads or prepare the roads. And so when we get a serious storm like that here, everything shuts down for a while. We could be without power for many days. It's much different than New England, where I grew up, where 12 to 16 inches would be nothing. But down here it's a big deal. So since I've got some advanced warning that this might be coming, I'm working on my fuel situation today. Back behind me is my generator shed. That's a 22 kilowatt diesel generator that we can use to run the house in the event that there's no power. And what I've done just now is I've got a fuel transfer tank here. It's an aluminum diesel transfer tank, and I've just taken whatever fuel I had in this tank and put it into the tank for the generator. Now this guy's empty, and I'm going to bring him down to a fuel depot in a nearby town where I can get off-road diesel. It doesn't have any road tax, so it saves quite a bit. I think it saves about 40 cents a gallon if I'm remembering right, but we'll see when we get there. I thought it'd be interesting to walk through this process. So next thing I'm going to do is get this tank in the back of my truck. We'll head on over to the fuel depot and fill it back up. West Point, Virginia. This is the diesel I'm going to get, and it's looking at it's $2.84 per gallon. Now on the way back out of town, I'm going to check and compare that to what other gas stations are charging. But right now, I'm going to set up the camera and start pumping. All right, I just finished pumping here at Milby, and compared the prices. So I was paying $2.84 a gallon for the off-road diesel. The on-road diesel, which they also sell there, they call it the highway diesel. They were asking $3.32 a gallon for that. So that's about 48 cents a gallon savings. So that's a big deal. If if you got any equipment that runs diesel and is not for highway use, if you can track down a source of the off-road diesel, you're going to save quite a bit of money. So I just picked up 55 gallons and figured save 48 cents for each of those gallons. So that's going to be around, I guess, $26, $27 worth of savings to come and get that off-road fuel. So that's a pretty good deal. So now we're going to head back home and put some fuel in the generator tank, and then I'll put the transfer tank back in my barn for storage. Okay, so before we take this fuel over and fill up the generator tank, I want to talk about additives. Generally in this part of Virginia, Southeast Virginia, I have to worry about two additives. The first one is a biocide, and this will prevent the growth of algae in the fuel tank during hot and humid summer months. This fuel, we're going to put that in the generator tank. It could be in that tank for 5, 6, 7 years for all we know. And so over that long term, you do have to worry about algae in the tank. So this will be good to add now, and then I'll repeat it in a couple years if some of the fuel is still in there and hasn't been used up. The other additive that's real important is a winterizer or anti-gel, and this is going to prevent the fuel from getting waxy and sticky in cold weather. Because we've bought this fuel here in January, I know it's already been treated by the supplier, so I'm not going to add that this time around. But if there's any situations where I find myself buying a lot of diesel in the summer months, I always add this stuff religiously, so that if I do have that diesel around in a tank or in some equipment during the winter and it gets cold, that I don't run into gel problems. And if you've ever dealt with that, it can be a nightmare. So you need to think ahead. If you're buying any diesel in the warm months when it will not have been treated with anti-gel, just add it and save yourself a lot of trouble when the weather turns cold. But this stuff we're buying in January, it's already been treated, so I'm not going to worry about that. So at this point, I've added some of this. Hopefully it's going to jiggle around and mix up on the way over to the generator shed. So we're going to head over there now and top off that tank. All right, so we got this tank filled up right to the top. It's really important when you're storing fuel long term like this, you want to minimize any air in the tank, because that is just a place where moisture in the air will condense and then create water in your tank. So you want to bring it up as high as you practically can for long-term storage. What I normally do here, since sometimes we don't have to run this generator for years and years, except for testing and periodic maintenance. I've kept this fuel as long as I think 6 years with regular treatments, and it's done fine. But if it's getting old and I'm starting to get concerned about the fuel, I have an electric pump over here with a fuel nozzle, and I can actually start distributing fuel out of this tank into my tractor and RTV if I feel like I need to use this up, or it needs to be replenished with fresher fuel for the generator. So anyways, that's the situation out here at the generator shed. In the next day or two, I'm gonna fire this guy up and just give it a test run. I tried and run this at least once a month or once every 2 months, depending on my schedule and how busy I am. But I'll give this guy a good 15 or 20 minute test just to make sure we're ready if any weather comes along this weekend. So at this point, I'm gonna get this guy back into the barn. I'll show you how I store it and put it away. Alrighty, there she is. That's where I keep that tank, and there's probably about 30 to 35 gallons left in that tank at this point, and so I'll be using that in the tractor and RTV. Or if we really do have to run the generator for a long time, I'll be using this as backup to replenish that main tank over there. Anyways, that's going to be it for today. Hope this has been interesting. If anybody has any ideas or tricks or tips to pass on for the way they store fuel and transfer it and use it for their equipment or generators, please post them below in the comments. I'll be glad to hear about what other people do. But yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.